A warm welcome to all of you. We have gathered today here for public presentation and discussion on the study conducted by researchers from IISc Bengaluru, Dr. T.V. Ramachandra, Paras Negi, and Tulika Mandal. This event is organized by Pune River Revival. We are a group of many organizations, concerned citizens, experts who want to make sure that Pune's rivers are conserved, they are protected, and they are revived.
The fight to save the rivers of Pune that has been going on now for quite some time, over a decade now, with leading institutions like Jeevat Nadi at the forefront, Ecological Society, Center for Sustainable Development, and then the entire Pune River Revival movement. I don't think I have to say this, but a living river is priceless, it's invaluable. And this is absolutely common knowledge. Unfortunately, for an economist, common knowledge and priceless are not words in their dictionary. Therefore, it becomes the cardinal duty of the citizens of Pune to put a value to the invaluable, precious water that they've been getting. And I keep saying this often. Those who are the real Punekars here would know the term Punyacha Pani. Right? Punyacha Pani is used as a metaphor. It's used as, as something which to describe the Punekars. But Punyacha Pani is indeed one of the best waters you can get in the entire country. We are at the source region. We are at the foothills of the Sahyadri. We are at the source region of some of the greatest peninsular rivers, and we get the most unpolluted water right from that source region to our houses. The only thing which happens in between is human interventions, human pollution, which goes on from the reservoirs into our houses. So we decided to put a value to this. It's quite unfortunate that you have to put a rupee value to nature services, ecosystem services, and natural capital, so to say. But it's required if you want to argue with somebody who is for development. In a river, you can put a monetary value to an infrastructure project. So the Riverfront Development Project has a monetary value of around 4,200 crores, which has now gone even more than that. But the catchment area of Panshet, Temghar, Varasgaon does not have any monetary value. And this is where we decided to bring in this wonderful trio led by Professor T.V. Ramachandran of Indian Institute of Science. Those of you who have worked in aquatic ecosystems, especially rivers and natural capital, would surely have referred to some of his papers and his work. So I'm not really introducing Professor Ramachandra Rao as much as introducing the efforts that they have put in here. Professor Ramachandra is the coordinator for the Energy and Wetlands Research Group at the Indian Institute of Science. He's part of the CES, Center for Ecological Sciences. And with him are Paras and Tulika, who are the two wonderful duo, the PhD students of Professor TVR, as he likes to be called. And I now, without wasting any more time, I would love to invite TVR to come up on the stage. Thank you.
I know this room has large number of economists. The problem with the current metrics, economic metrics, what people call GDP, please don't feel bad if I use harsh word. According to me, it is not gross domestic product, it's a gross distorted product. Because when we do the project, we look at only the output. We do not account the degradation cost. If we have done that, probably we would have had sustainable development. People would have given importance to the ecosystem and would have conserved the ecosystem. That's where we have been looking at how to have green GDP. In various forums I have been talking, including United Nations. And essentially when you do the valuation of the ecosystem, it curtails fraudulent practices in the development project. The developer will only tell you what is the benefit you get, what is the recreation, etc. But never reveal how much he has damaged the ecosystem. Okay? There are 4 components. First, you should know what is the spatial extent of the ecosystem. If it's a forest, what is the area of that, what are type of forest, etc. Then condition of the ecosystem, because ecosystem spatial extent and condition decides the services. That is where you get the goods and services from the ecosystem. If the ecosystem is bad, then you don't get the service. So the benefit to the society, we are assessing through the ecosystem services. For that, you should know the condition of the ecosystem, and for that, you should know how the condition has changed over a period of time. Then the third component was the ecosystem goods and services. We looked at the both tangible and non-tangible benefits, what we get from the ecosystem. Then finally is the monetary asset. We calculated what is the worth of the asset. Okay. So now to assess ecosystem extent, I'm very fortunate because I am born in the period we launched the satellites. The remote sensing data was available. Pictures of the earth was available. I could see the changes happening after my birth. Last 5 decades, what changes have happened in the system, I could do it because from 1970, picture of the earth is available at every 21 or 30 days interval. That temporal data helped in assessing the extent and also the dynamics, how it is changing. Picture is worth million words. People can manipulate when they write, but picture cannot. You cannot do that. So that is what we use to assess the extent. Then we also assess the condition of the forest ecosystem. One of the variables we did was the fragmentation of forest. How the forest is fragmented, whether it's an intact forest or it is a perforated and fragmented and the various levels of the fragmentation. There are indices to do that. Fragmentation indices, we computed PF and PFF. These are simple things. Proportion of you take a kernel of 3 by 3, find out what is the proportion of the pixels under forest versus non-forest. When you take the ratio, you get PF. Similarly, you compute PFF in the cardinal direction. Then there are set of values which says if PF is 1, that means all are forest. Intact forest has to be there. So that is how we computed PF, PFF, and based on that, we assess what is the condition of the ecosystem. This is how we do the quantification of ecosystem services. We look at the provisioning services like tangible benefit like timber, fuel wood, non-timber forest produce like spices, etc. Then regulating services, we look at the carbon sequestration, microclimate moderation, then groundwater recharge, pollination services, etc. Then cultural services, which are recreation, aesthetic, and information services. So that's what we published a book. It's called Natural Capital Accounting and Valuation Ecosystem Survey. Probably this is the first of its kind in the country. Okay, people have worked on the sectors. Madhu Verma and many people have done the job. But we could do it in a much comprehensive way, covering the 3 ecosystems. So thanks to my students, okay? What did we do? We looked at the provisioning services, the water, non-timber forest produce, fuel wood, fodder, etc. We use the residual value method, which means we are looking at only the benefit what we get from the thing. For example, if you sell the 1 ton of timber in the market, you get an X amount. To extract 1 ton, you would have spent on the labor as well as the transportation. So now you deduct that from the market price, that is called residual value or seigniorage value. The forest department used the terminology seigniorage value. Now, the quantity of the goods that is coming from the market, that we got it from the forest department and from published literature. See, when we don't have the study in this region, we looked at the neighboring region, whether anybody has done the study in this one or in the annual report of the forest department like that. Then among that, if a forest department gives some data, then if some researcher has done, among that, which one is lesser? We have considered that less value for our quantification. We want to be as conservative as possible to tell the people, even with the low-cost scenario, how beautiful our ecosystem is by providing the services. Then we have done the regulating services like carbon stock, carbon sequestration, soil, the nutrient cycling, pollination, etc. If you look at the publication that has been published in the country on the ecosystem service, all along people were publishing, considering the regulating services done elsewhere in the globe. Hardly there was no study focusing on India. for the first time, we could break that barrier thanks to Madam here. Shailaja madam. She invited us to do that. We took opportunity. I told my student, this is a golden opportunity. The regulating services, what was the thing? We will quantify it with our primary data and show what is the worth of the ecosystem. Probably this will become the kind of, when we publish it, it will become a model for other researchers in India. So that is how it helps in the thing. Okay, that's what we took advantage. Then we looked at the cultural services, wherein we looked at the ecotourism, environmental education, research, etc. Then I have the special extent of the ecosystem. I know the condition of the ecosystem and I know what are the goods coming. Multiply that, you get the provisioning services, regulating services, culture. Then the combination of these three, the aggregation gives the total ecosystem supply value, which we call it as gross ecological product, which is also green GDP. Okay. So now I know that what is the TSV per year. Okay. Now with that, I have computed NPV. Okay. Net present value of the ecosystem, considering the life of the asset as 50 years and the discount rate as 3%. We know that as per the Supreme Court, for renewable sources, the discount rate is 2% and for non-renewable resources, 4%. I have taken average of the two so that I have no problem with the renewable or non-renewable, this one. Okay. So now this is the method what we used in our report. We have talked about it in the slides which has been circulated also. We have elaborated this. That's how we did the quantification. And then this gives a glimpse of the other proof of that we stayed here. And Amit, the people who took me to my team for the field work. Okay, look at we enjoyed, nature. You look at we went to the sacred grove. Now, this gives the extent of the forest in the ecosystem using remote sensing data of a high resolution, 10 meter is available, which is freely downloadable. Now, this gives me the extent of forest cover in the system using remote sensing data. We use the machine learning algorithm, the standard random forest, okay? Then we did the region where that 43 kilometer, the region of influence, what is the kind of the land cover in the thing? It's almost urbanized, okay? That is the thing. And these are this one, okay? Then we also extracted the data at sub-basin level. These are the sub-basins and these are the colored rows indicate for the regions of influence. I'm going to use the term later, okay? Then this gives the region of influence. Then we calculated the condition of the forest. This gives the forest hardly I have to search for the intact forest. On the third day, our concluding day of the fieldwork, when I went there with Kedar and Amit, we could enjoy some fruits and we saw some intact forest with the sacred grove. That's highlight. If you want to have conservation, the culture has to be there. The fear has to be there in the minds of the people. Then only the people will conserve. Okay. So now it gives what is the extent of the forest degradation. Out of 400 plus the hectares, you see that about 400 plus square kilometer, you see that 172 square kilometer is an intact forest. Okay. Then we had an opportunity to enjoy the NTFE there. This lady was selling the thing. We had a small chat with her to find out how many times she comes to the field and all those things. That is where our Amit helped in this one. And also we took a lot of fruits from her. Okay. Then these are the items we quantified. The water. You look at the worth of the water. Water is used for drinking. Water is used for electricity generation, irrigation. We quantified that. We found out what is the amount of water used for the electricity generation and assign the value to that. Okay. So that's where it amounts to about 7,211 million rupees per year, the water. Okay. From only this Mutha Catchment. Okay. Then non-timber forest produce is about 42 million rupees per year. So as I said, we looked at the forest department as well as there are two scenarios, scenario 1 and 2. Scenario 1 is from the researcher in this region and scenario 2 is the forest department. Okay, then we use the scenario 1 for the quantification, which is a lower value, 42 million rupees, whereas scenario 2 is about 76 million rupees per year is the scenario 2. as far as non-timber forest produce is concerned. Then further, we look from the remote sensing data, we know the spatial extent. When we talk to the local people, they told what percentage of the forest is accessible to that. And we know the productivity of the grasses in the grassland. And also when we talk to the local people, they said what is the value of the price of the grasses. And also there were published literature on fodder. We use that to quantify that, which amounts to about 411 million rupees per year. Okay. Then fish. We have a good data of fish from the fishery department. We used it and it shows about 109 million rupees per year. Okay. Fuel wood is about the 181 million rupees per year. Okay. Then next is the regulating services. Carbon stock, carbon sequestration, soil conservation. We quantified all these things. See, something what I said earlier, for the first time in the country, all regulating services, we quantified using the primary data that is available with us in the catchment area, unlike using the other values, which we call it as a benefit transfer method. Now the carbon stock, which gives the path, you can see where all we have moved with Madam Revati and Bhushan. So we moved with them and we found out what is the overgrown biomass, what kind of species are there. Madam was telling us what kind of species and all. You see the carbon stock is about 300 billion rupees per year. And every year, the fallen leaves, etc. And NPP is about 29 million rupees per year. Like we add on the weight, the trees also add on. We found out what is the likely increase in the thing, because we know the similar experiment we have done for the similar kind of the species. We could find out how much it will increase, what is the carbon of that. And more importantly, NPP experiment people have done. Okay. Then we have the soil conservation, again using the soil, the quality, type of the soil and other parameters. We could assess the worth of that. It's about 83 million rupees per year. Then groundwater recharge is about 1,495 million rupees per year. Okay. Then nutrient cycling is 100 million rupees. We looked at the NPK. So nutrient cycling amounts to about 100 million rupees. Okay. So then pollination is about 1,432 million rupees per year. Look at the thing, the small job of the so-called small insects doing a wonderful job of giving the food to all of us, which is about 1,438 million rupees per year. Okay. Then the air purification. See, when you have trees in your house, you don't get particulate matter inside. You will see the dust accumulation on the leaves. Okay. Similarly, they take away the sulfur and other nitrous oxide, etc. Today, we have the sensors throughout the country through the monitoring the sulfur dioxide, nitrous oxide and particulate matter. We got the data for the nearby region and we use that data to quantify the air purification. Suppose you want to have clean air, like in Bangalore, we have the air purifier. First we degrade the system, then we get a purifier and further contaminate the system, which amounts to about 177 million rupees per year. Okay. So then habitat protection is about 364 million. See, when you have for example, the ex situ protection, you have to spend money like zoo or anything, or even the national park, X amount is spent on that. Now, without national park, if the conservation is happening and if there are this one, what is the worth of that? It's about 364 million rupees per year. Okay. Then cultural services, environmental education, ecotourism and research. Fortunately, in the forest department record, we got the details how many projects are funded in this region to carry out a study in this region. Okay. So that is where this one and then we have each other thing. Now it amounts to about 50 million rupees per year. Now, aggregation of provisioning, regulating and cultural services gives the total ecosystem supply value or TESV, okay, which is also known as a gross ecosystem product. Once you have TSV per year, you can compute NPV. For the people who are non-economists, if you keep 1,000 rupees in a bank at 10% interest, every year you get 100 rupees. Now to get 100 rupees, you have to have principal amount of 1,000 rupees. Now to get every year TSV of this amount, what is the principal amount you have to have in the bank? That is the asset value of the forest. Okay. So now TSV of this catchment from provisioning, regulating and cultural services amounts to 50 billion rupees per year. And the NPV works out to be about 1,289 billion rupees. That's the worth of the forest asset in the region. Okay? Or if you take NPV per hectare, it amounts to about 6.22 million rupees. This one, RTSV is about 2,45,000 rupees per hectare per year. Okay? Then let us look at the region of influence. Since we did the entire catchment, doing this was not a problem because we had computers and young researchers with me. We could calculate what is the NPV of that small region. See, the TSV amounts to about 18,114,000 rupees. Okay, whereas this one NPV is about the 466 billion rupees. Okay, that is the now if I consider that project area 43 kilometer with a 100-meter buffer, because as per the norm, they are not supposed to disturb the buffer zone. If this project is disturbing the buffer zone and this one, I would say those bureaucrats have to be put behind the bars for their lifetime, for the damage they have done. You know, when academicians start speaking with the data, there won't be fear. And that's what should happen. Then you won't see the erosion in any of the ecosystem or the ecosystem services. So that's where the academician has to do the job also. So now the TSV of that, the project area considering 100-meter buffer, the area is about 1,619 hectares and TSV is about 398 million rupees per year, or the NPV is about 10,249 million rupees. Okay, or 10 billion rupees. They are spending, I was told, 4,000 crores. 4,000 crore means 40 billion. Okay. Now, I have 100 and you can see that about 10 billion rupees is this one natural asset. Now, if I take that Mula, Mutha, this one, the confluence, the area which I visited, I saw the sacred grove there. Next to the sacred grove, I see the sewage treatment plant coming up. Is it our culture to use the sacred grove as a sewage pit? Very unfortunate. I don't know who took decision of that. This is not acceptable. Converting the part of this one, if gods are there, really, we are testing their existence. Should take care of the people who are responsible for that. You might say that why he is making this statement, does it work? See, in Karwar, sometime back, I'll tell you, there was a region, the power plant was coming up. I think 2000 megawatt power plant was coming up. People had done some EIA. It came for a verification to me because I was a part of the team, the review team. When I went there, I saw the sacred grove. I said, you can't have the project here. They said, no, we'll get a clearance. I said, you cannot have the project. Suppose if you try to have the project, you will not be there, I said. I don't know, sometime it happens. When I came back, after 6 months, I told that man died in the accident. And that project is also shelved. So that is the pay they have to pay. You know, naturally it happens on the people who degrade the ecosystem, who erode the sustainability of the ecosystem and who will also affect the intergeneration equity have to pay in that way. Okay. So there are many instances I have come across when I was traveling in the Western Ghats, irrespective of the region, whether it is Kerala or Karnataka or the Goa. In fact, last year we were in Goa. And this region is about 6.9 hectares, TSV is about 1.7 and NPV is about 43 million rupees. Now, that's where, see the team, you know, we could do it because of the team.
A question from somebody who's never been an economist, but somebody who's also looked at water. So is there some kind of an overlap accounting when we look at partitioning these services, but even parts of each of these services into these compartments, and whether the valuation itself would be lesser if we have absolute counts, and what kind of an overlap, or is there an overlap when we actually do that?
I'll start from the last question, overlap. That is what we deliberated in the United Nations. You know, earlier, provisioning, regulating, supporting, and cultural services. We realized that regulating and supporting, there's an overlap. That was knocked off. So that precaution was taken. Even while doing this, we were quite careful. There are n number of services, but we took only few of them. Even with that few, you see the high value. Second thing, you said that accounting may be a double-sworded thing. But in my case, I don't think so. Because when we know the worth of a person, we start respecting. You know, for example, since we don't know the worth of a mother, that's where when I take a class for student, first question or assignment I give is, assess the worth of your mother. No student has done it. But after that, I was told by their parents that students started behaving properly at home. I have given the message. You are right regarding infiltration and groundwater recharge. Groundwater recharge amounts to 12% of the infiltration, 10 to 12%. We cross-verified with the groundwater data also, the temporal groundwater data that happens in this region versus elsewhere. We have taken enough precautions to this one. Even before this, we have presented our Karnataka and Uttara Kannada and this one in various forums. It was scrutinized. In fact, once when I presented one of the forum, one of the economists said that what you are talking is nonsense. I was so happy. I told him, I am very grateful to you. This is about 12 years back. But only then I looked at the chair of the session. I said, sir, I want this gentleman to come back tomorrow because we have still 2 more days to go. He has to come and say where I have done wrong. If he is unable to do it, then he has to apologize. Then that day evening, he met me. He spoke to me. I showed the detailed thing because, you know, I was given only 25 minutes of the thing. To get into the methods, it would have taken another 1 hour. And after 40 minutes, madam was almost hinting to me that I should stop it, okay? With that constraint, I didn't get into the methods thing. Otherwise, in our book, I request you to take that book on the natural capital accounting and have a look at it and can do the review of that. For academicians, every review, critical review will always help. I look forward for that, okay? So I think I have answered all your questions.
You take GDP of Pune district, it's like 5 lakh crores. 5 lakh crores is 5,000 billion, am I right? And Sir has calculated the ecosystem valuation at something like 500 billion, right? 550 billion. So, but still it comes to 10% of the GDP, which is 500 billion is the state GDP of Pune district, sir. Just to give the background. So out of 550, it's a big number, it's 10%. So I believe that all policymakers should be made aware of this. And my second, sir, can we have some kind of template of this exercise so that we can scale it up for the, ultimately the natural ecosystems and administrative ecosystems are different. So if we can do that, probably we can answer better with your question that what can be done. See, we can manage whatever we can measure, and sir has already measured it, so we can go ahead. So we can run sensitivity analysis, we can have environmental balance sheet is already there in Pune municipality, but we have to create more structures and more transaction matrices in the environment budget to get affected so this is what we call a kind of baseline, but we have to create an elaborate methodology like benchmark surveys, like not we cannot do it every year, but at least 5 years, some periodicity, and scaling up the thing. That's what I feel can be done and should be done by policymakers.
Madam, to answer your question, scaling it up, I have put 2 of my students who are doing PhD to scale it up to Western Ghat level. Entire Western Ghat. Tulika is looking at the southern Western Ghat and Paras is looking at the northern Western Ghat. That we started much earlier. As soon as I published the Karnataka study, we felt that we should give the value to the Western Ghats. Then only people will think of conservation. That is where we started the journey. I think all these towns and cities will also come in that. We should be able to take out the value from that study. That is not a problem. So we are scaling it up, and in a time you will get the answer from us, okay? Then I think I have answered all the questions. So, monetary value, that again I have answered that. People have not understood the worth of riparian forest. One of the important service done is the remediation, bioremediation. When the surface runoff happens, when the water passes through that riparian vegetation, treatment happens. That's where earlier our rivers were never polluted because of that. But today, because of incapable system, inefficient and corrupt system, we are polluting the system, because instead of treating, we just dump it. If we allow the industries to do it and we pocket the money there. So that's the unfortunate part, that something else happens. But at the end of the day, I have the thing that this ecosystem accounting certainly is going to revolutionize the system. It's a weapon to see that ecosystems are conserved and passed on to our children safely. So only the language, the current bureaucrats and decision makers, I will not use the word politician deliberately, because there are some good politicians also. I have interacted with them. But as madam said, they have a short life compared to the bureaucrats. So that's where the bureaucrat decision is a long standing. We need to be this one. We have to give the medicine to bureaucrats. They have to shed their colonial mindset. Colonial rulers left the country looting our resources. Now we have colonial mindset bureaucrats. We need to throw their colonial mindset. Then only you will see the prosperity in the country. The day when we throw that colonial mindset from the bureaucrat, India gains another independence. We need to fight for that. Okay.
Thank you, sir. I'm just combining a few questions due to shortage of time so that it is easier for you to answer. This is a combined question from Darab Nagarwala and Dr. Pallavi Kulkarni. How do we quantify the loss in ecosystem services per running kilometer concretizing of the river banks? Which is happening in the riverfront development project, and it's removing the existing riparian forest vegetation, etc. And related to that, can we use this evaluation method to suggest alternative sites for this kind of development?
Well, suggesting alternate site is not our problem. That mistake, we should never do that. So let us be clear. We will say this one is priceless, we need to conserve it. If they are this one, let them come and then we will verify that. Let us not get into that business of the alternate site. It's not the job of the scientist nor the activist to give the alternative to the bureaucrats who are well paid. They need to do their job. Let them do it, okay? So the first question is...
So while concretizing, how do we...
Well, when you have the NPV, you know that how much they concretized. You can just multiply that, tell them. And also in terms of the ecological services, you can talk about it. Groundwater recharge and other things, how much you are going to lose. That's again thing. For example, in one of the districts when we studied in Udupi, with the paved surface, groundwater table, even in Bangalore, 1990s, I saw the lake conversion started. When the lake was removed, within 5 years, groundwater table dipped by 500 feet. Earlier, it was less than 100 feet. In 5 years, it went down to 600 feet. And today, 24 years, we have gone down to 1,900 feet. There is no water. Now, where is the service there? The concretization. See, the problem with our urban planning is the absence of water urbanism. The transition from porous landscape to paved landscape is creating the havoc in terms of the heat wave, in terms of the groundwater scarcity, etc. Bangalore depends on groundwater 45%. Other 60% come from Kaveri. Because of climate change, we have erratic rainfall. That's why last year, we went to the ground zero situation. We didn't have water. So that is the cost. When the people pay the price. The elites in Dollar Colony and Sadashiv Nagar, the politicians and bureaucrats, they don't have the problem. They get the water somewhere. So when everyone gets it, then we have the solution.
Thank you. This is a general question, I think, for all of us to think about from Mr. Prasad Sevekari of Pani Panchayat. If a habitation is utilizing ecosystem services worth billions of rupees, who should monitor and regulate the use of natural habitats? And how would the tariff be decided and collected? We don't have any regulatory authorities who are looking at it from this perspective. So how do we take this forward at the bureaucratic level? Any ideas on that from you, sir?
Well, this I have a simple solution. Just have environmental education at all level. Have the modular approach. Initially, you tell the children what is the importance of the thing, and as they grow up, what is the worth of that in economic terms. Then each child in the neighborhood know the worth of the ecosystem, and that child will never allow the destruction to happen. And that is the best medicine to tell the current bureaucrats and tomorrow's bureaucrats also. Okay? You know, I also, as a part of my academic exercise, I also take classes for the IIS trainees. The moment they get through in the exam, they think they have landed in the heaven. You know, when I was supposed to start my class at 9:30, I saw the people still walking till 9:50. Then first lecture I said is the discipline. Then what I did is, I was supposed to give a tea break at 11 o'clock. My session was 3 hours. I said, I will not give tea break. Organizers are worried. They said, sir, if you don't give the thing, then they will. I said, no, they deserve it. When we teach them hard way, they learn how to manage the thing. Then with lot of pressure from the organizers, I said, okay, I'll give 8 minutes break. And the person who enters my hall, last 2 persons have to summarize. Believe it or not, there was a competition to enter the hall. But still there were 2 people at the end, okay? That is what we have to make. Then system will work. That is what academicians has to do that. When they train the students, no, if they make the students have the right spinal cord, they have done their job. Okay, that's what we have to do as a teachers at all level. If we do it, then you will see the sustainability in place.
This is from Mr. Avinash Surve. Catchment area treatment plan is a part of sanction of large irrigation projects. While giving environment clearance, normally this sanction is with conditions, and revenue authorities, commissioners, collectors are leading these committees of follow-up of compliances of these conditions, but not a single meeting is taken once the sanction is given. So even if there are measures in place, if those are not being implemented,
No, I'll tell you
how can citizens understand?
No, I'll tell you the serious gap is lack of knowledge in the bureaucracy. You know, even today, when I go to some of the committees and see that there's a gap, we need to make it this one. You know, that's what I was telling in one of the forum. When IAS officer gets the job, before he takes up the assignment, we should make sure that he gets thoroughly trained in the environment also. So put him in the forest sector, let him work, and water sector. Only after that probation for 1.5 or 2 years, then you can assign him anything. The day when he learns how the linkages between water and forest or vegetation cover, catchment treatment, everything will become easier. You know, such a novel problem, watershed, this one. You know, some of the states have done a wonderful job. They sustain the water. You know, this state, because of Anna Hazare, you know, how he reversed the migration, that model has to be replicated. What is wrong with the people in the decision making to replicate that model?
There is one interesting question from Dr. Sumant Pandey. Can we calculate or estimate loss of soil in Western Ghats of Maharashtra from 1970 onwards using any of these methodologies that you have talked about?
Loss of
Soil, yeah, so, or erosion of soil. Yeah.
That's not difficult. We know the forest cover. We know the soil quality also. You know, French Institute has done the study. They have done the sampling in the entire Western Ghats. That data is available, and also National Bureau of Soil Sampling and Land Use, they also have the data. If we integrate those 2 data along with the land cover data, and then assign the economic value, but you have to keep in mind inflation and all those things, PPP and all. And if you do that, it is possible. It's not that difficult, and you will be surprised with the number when we do that.
Thank you. There are some other questions, but those have been answered indirectly. And also we are running out of time.
One question which I have answered. Let me understand whether I have answered.
So this was about education, how we can integrate environmental issues in the education systems. There was a comment on that. So thank you very much.
Fantastic presentation, sir. And from my experience at the Parliament, at the Municipal Corporation, we use such reports when we are presenting a certain issue in Parliament. And it really helps us a lot, because as a layman, we do understand that these things are wrong. Even for that matter, in Pune, we are fighting for the rivers. But unless we don't have concrete data, it sometimes becomes very difficult to say what we are saying. And therefore, at the moment, at the Municipal Corporation, you must be aware, because Shailajatai, I'm sure, has initiated this entire exercise just because we are fighting for the rivers. I would really urge upon you that please have it published somewhere so that we can use it. And I don't know how much of those figures will really work at the Municipal Corporation or with the politicians or with the bureaucrats. I'm really happy that today the brickbats were not so much on politicians, it was on the bureaucrats. And I think that's the right approach, because bureaucrats are, after all, very educated IAS officers who have gone through the rut of so much. Politicians are supposed to be a very democratic process where you can have a illiterate person, but it's a democracy, so you have to be represented by all. They're there only for 5 years, no security of tenure. IAS officers are there till they retire, and they jolly well do the business. Unfortunately, at the moment, we see that what they need to do is not happening. They also need to put their foot down sometime, but your kind of research will help people like us to definitely voice our opinions, make sure that things happen. A lot of times when we fight, we feel the courts are the only resort. And I think when we are fighting for the rivers, we've been filing cases, some in the High Court, some in the NGT. This report is going to help us for sure. But sensitization of judges, sensitization of bureaucrats, sensitization of elected representatives, and most of all, people understanding this to create pressure over there. And these kind of reports, when we go to the courts and file petitions, these are the kind of statistics that come to help us. So thank you very much. Thank you, Shailajatai, for initiating this.
So it's a fantastic job that you have done, because one and most important thing is whatever you are doing, whenever we say that a particular project has to be done or has not to be done, the project authority or government, it will say what is the monetary value of the things that may be destructed. They will never say that we are destructing it. They will say we are developing it. So this is the best way to tell, because whenever we do anything in the forest, when the forest area is being diverted, we ask for the net present value. And at present, the maximum net present value that we ask for, that is for the evergreen forest, and per hectare, we ask only 15 lakh rupees. And if you take this, because when Indian Forest Management Institute decided to do some survey, they said at least the value should be 55 lakh rupees per hectare. That is also pretty less. When you will say this much of value has been assigned to a particular area where the Mutha Catchment is there, riparian area is there, this is very important how we can tell the government authorities that this is the most important area. Whatever project you wanted to do, that you cannot do by destructing this kind of a system which has got a very high monetary value. Because if you go to the court will always ask, what is the monetary value? Now everybody talks about the monetary value. So best way to tell what Himanshu said is to tell the people how we are going to assign this value, how you are assigned this value. When we say billions of rupees for 1 hectare or 1 square kilometer, every layman should try to understand it. Because otherwise, such kind of areas will be destructed because people don't know the real value of things. Because when we say the value goes in billions. If you ask the forest department officials, one of my friend is sitting over here, we only talk in the lakhs only. Let 100-hectare forest go, we'll get 100 into 15 lakhs, that is the NPV. But when we tell that the value is in billions, then each and everybody will understand. So this is the best thing that you have done. I'm really happy. I'm sure the CCF of Pune is sitting over here. When all the information will go with him, most probably you can send all this to the principal chief conservator. So they will have understand, will see that this information will go to Minister of Environment and Forest as well. Because thereafter only they will change what will be the NPV of 1 hectare of density 1 forest, that is the green forest or our regular evergreen forest. And that's what it is required. And this is the best job that I can do, because people won't believe that only this much of area of riparian forest is worth of billions of rupees. You must be aware there was an order by the Supreme Court in the month of March that the state government who still has not identified the forest as per the dictionary meaning, they should do within the 6 months. And not a single government till today has come forward saying that we have identified this much of forest land as identified forest, which is a non-forest land. Now here also, this riparian forest area doesn't come in the list which has been prepared by the officers of the state government. I will never blame the officers because a lot of pressure is there, political pressure, other pressure, but every layman, everyone here should understand, unless and until layman and people like you, they help the state government officers or all the activists or the NGOs, nobody would yield to such kind of pressure. They will do their projects. The best part, you come with the project, immediately we should go and tell, don't disturb this area. The monetary value of this area is in billions. Then only they will understand. So I think his work we can take forward. Let all this information go to the state government when we decide what can be done.
What is important about this presentation or this study was that it comes in the situation where we are in a situation where we have a dead tree more valuable than a living tree. And that is true of a dead whale or a dead tree. And so we are probably at a stage where we have to look at everything in terms of its value. And what is unfortunate is that, as Gurudas said in the beginning, we are talking in terms of rupee value. And that is the only way we are able to measure, that is the only metric we have of assessing the value of things. And unfortunately, we probably also need to work on other forms of value, which will bring us to a better sense of understanding of the environment and the effects we create on that. What is also very important is that in all the methodology that we have, there are a lot of limitations on the traditional methodologies of economics. And even the NPV is a methodology it is a tool which has a great limitation because it is the discounting factor which decides what is the value of the present value of anything. So you can have a distant thing valued at 0 today because the discounting rate has been chosen like that. You have chosen a very low discounting rate that probably doesn't affect the situation so much. But in most of the financial analysis that is done for projects, the discounting factors are such that you have very low value of environmental conservation. That happens in the distant. So I think we need to find out not only applying methodologies into assessment of the value of natural resources and the effect on them, but we have to also find out how this can get into modifying the methodology of environmental impact assessment. And that probably is very important to make a methodological contribution to the way projects are analyzed in the future. That will be important. And I think what was more important than the values that were worked out is the innovative solutions that Dr. TVR talked about. Because I think the innovative solutions are the ones which are going to show the way out. And for every new project idea that is developed or being put forward for implementation, we need to look at what are the innovative solutions that are possible, what are the nature-based solutions that are possible, and how that can be contributing to a very different type of way of doing the same things. So it is not just the monetary value of what we are doing a positive or negative in the whole process, but what alternate ways of doing that we have. And we have one more thing that I would like to add to the innovative solutions is that a lot of these innovative solutions come from the people. So we have to see how people are doing it, how people have developed their ways of handling those type of problems which we are trying to, in our high wisdom, we are trying to, do in a particular way. But there are other ways in which people can look at it and develop their own innovative solutions, which we can apply in alternatives to whatever is proposed in any project. So those are thoughts. Thank you very much.
Combined value of various natural ecosystems is a highly significant part of wealth of this particular region. Just the Pune district, part of the Mutha Catchment, which is only 13% of the district, is valued at 128,000 crore. So just look at the number. This is the capital value. Maybe actually 128,695 crore to be precise. The services provided annually by these ecosystems is significant, and development without due consideration to these can deplete the capital and the services both, potentially irreversibly. So it is very important to see that conservation is a key part of how we need to go forward. It is important that development planning considers both natural capital and the ecosystem services valuation integral to the planning process and not as an add-on or consider this as an impediment. Many times it is considered that, I just don't want to even consider. I look the other way when I do my development planning. That's not what we really want. The valuation and services serve as a guideline for consensus development, which can align social and environmental objectives as suggested in Sustainable Development Goals. Next is in the changing climate. I think this is very important. We talked a little bit about it, but in the changing climate, these considerations will also help in climate resilience and disaster risk reduction. Both aspects are very important issues for the executives, that is the bureaucrats. This study provides an example of the significance of nature and therefore its place in development planning. The approach of conservation-driven development is key to the well-being of citizens as well as nature. This will also bring back the focus on nature in not neglecting her contribution to the well-being of citizens. It becomes clear that in spite of constraints imposed on the executives and executive bodies, it makes eminent sense to prioritize conservation-driven development planning. Citizen awareness on the importance of nature in making good development decisions is also key. Therefore, environment education is an important dimension of what we need to do further. How can we make nature and biodiversity a center of our development planning? These are important questions that we need to ponder on. How these efforts are integrated in the policy for funding development projects is the key to using this work and approach in the coming years. Let us take an example, just to give you an example so that it is very clear what we kind of discussed over an hour. If we take an example of, say, a process of executing a project with an outlay of 1,000 crore, we'll end up destroying natural capital of, say, 500 crores, which is equivalent to cutting 750 fully grown trees. That is typically 100-year-old trees valued at 74,500 into 100. So around 750 fully grown trees. The associated yearly services, let's say 2 crore. I'm just taking some numbers. Effective cost of the project will be 100,000 crore plus 750 crore and multiply 2 by 50 years of service that we will get over the next 50 years. So we are talking about a project outlay of 1850 crore instead of 1,000 crore, which means that we need to look at the return on 1850 crore and not 1,000 crore. So I think we have to really understand the cost that we are incurring is not just cement and steel, but a lot more cost that we are incurring when we destroy some of our nature associated with the project. And the last is specifically, we must consider these inputs to get similar exercises conducted for all the Pune river systems, not just Mula. This time we just talked about Mula. There is Indrayani, there is Pavna, there are many other rivers which are part of the Pune district as a starting point, and I'm not restricting it to Pune district. in our development decisions around rivers, anything that you want to do with rivers, we need to consider some of these numbers. And further, actually for all the ecosystems, it's not just about rivers. We talked about just rivers, talking about 10%, right, here of the district GDP. If we really look at all the ecosystems under valuation, I'm pretty sure it will go much beyond the district level GDP. And therefore, all ecosystems we need to consider as inputs to future development planning. So I think these are some of the key takeaways from all that we heard. I just wanted to distill it in few points and present it to you. Thank you very much.
One last thing I'm going to talk about is I'm going to acknowledge here someone who is very special to all of us and who has been the driving force behind this study as well as this event. And this is none other than Shailajatai Deshpande. So I'm just handing it over to Shailajatai to offer the vote of thanks, and then we'll conclude the ceremony.
To share my heartfelt thanks to all of you. One thing is missing because of the winter Hiwali Adhiveshanachamuळे, the people who were supposed to come, Divisional Commissioner Naval Kishore Ram, Commissioner who had promised, except the forest presented, because that is only in state that conservation and protection happens only under one department, which usually should be actually shared by each and every department, which didn't happen today. But in spite of that, we could gather the cross section from all the segments of the society. I'm not going to talk about thanking different representatives who came, but Ashish Thackeray came by phone call. Lot of messages and emails I kept on sending to everybody without talking because I was not moving around. The volunteers moved around and everything happened in a quick time because of the constraints of the election and election protocol. So we had to prepone this, but this actually the valuation system, the capital what Pune city has, the assets which we have, and if we don't do it, what we are going to lose. I think this, I'm going to request Ashish Thackeray, Sunil Limay, then Bhushana, Vijay Paranspe sir, we have a combined meeting including Pandey sir, agriculture, all ecosystems and all ecosystem valuation systems in place for Pune, and create a paper and talk to the commissioner and create and build up the pressure. That could be the right way to thank everyone that you have actively participated in this for conserving and protecting our systems. So thank you all and thank you very much.